What's going on, guys? We're gonna call this video Inside My Crazy Mind. So full disclosure early on, if you are down or at all interested in hearing me just completely go off on everything going on in my head and that's been going on in my head as it might pertain to a visit with my psychiatrist, as pertains to mental health issues that I go through, depression, anxiety, obsessive behaviors, obsessive thought patterns, stuff like that, I want you here. I'm glad you're here. My hope is that by sharing everything that just happened in that visit, maybe you can tap into some of my crazy and identify with it enough to know you're not alone. I certainly look forward to hearing your insights on whatever you might think. I don't share any of this because I need anyone to fix me. I've just made a habit of routinely updating you guys on exactly what's going on. Not what I want to be going on, but what is going on. So this is sure to be a long video, but it'll be cathartic for me. Today I saw my psychiatrist, someone who I try to touch base with once every month or two. I don't take any antidepressants, I don't take any antipsychotics or any psych meds to speak of right now. I have in the past, but this was the guy that was with me when I had my big mental breakdown in 2011. I definitely think it's hard to find a good mental health provider, and I just try to keep good people in my corner. I don't take that for granted. I don't take that lightly. I'm one of those people that thinks everyone should have a mental health provider, period. We have dentists, we have primary care physicians, but a lot of us don't have anyone looking over likely the most important part of our body, our brains. So I knew I needed to see him. As I've shared before, I've been dealing with insane amounts of obsessive thinking and then some depression and anxiety as well. I went and saw Dr. Powers today, and the main topic was obsession. Obsession, obsession, obsession. I made a video called Everything Going On in My Crazy Mind back in the summer, and it really stems from there. Back in June, I watched a bunch of people graduate college and high school, and it made me feel incredibly insecure about where I was in my life and what I was doing. And then I started to just compile my accolades of defeat after high school, such as dropping out of college, such as diving deep into my alcoholism, such as becoming severely depressed. You know, I just felt like, man, I haven't done enough with my life, and I just got really self-conscious about it, and so I started obsessing about it. Now, I've always been a relatively rational person. I've always been pretty good at discerning crazy from logic, you know, and I could tell that I was getting a little bit crazy, a little bit self-loathing, and it wasn't healthy. But I was struggling to not obsess over success, obsess over occupations, obsess over what makes someone valuable in life and what doesn't. You know, I started to get away from the core, the core principles that I've basically lived by, that I think sort of make me who I am. And it was really uncomfortable. And when I say obsess, I'm talking like wake up in the morning and I just loop the same questions and the same fears and the same whatever worries over and over and over and over and over again. I spend the whole day trying to solve them, and I often get very compulsive, and I research and I research and I Google and I research and I try to find literature and information that will perhaps comfort me and make me not feel so shitty, so insecure, or whatever. And it's just this endless cycle. And so I did that all the way through the summer, and I'd have these little stretches where I didn't obsess, but essentially I'm obsessing all day, every day. And then, as I was telling Dr. Powers, I started school. I went back to film school, you know, because the whole thing triggered this feeling that I needed to continue to press forward, even if the situation wasn't ideal with my mental health, even if this, that, or the other was getting in the way. I needed to attempt to make forward progress, and so I signed up for school and I went. But one of my classes was a sociology class, and in that class we talked about social inequities, racial inequities, institutionalized racism, inequality. We talked about it at great length, and at some point in the class, myself and a lot of the other light-skinned students, we started to feel what I later came to find out is known as white guilt. Now, the reason I bring this up is because then I switched my obsession from success to obsessing over racism, to obsessing over feeling guilty for the color of my skin, and then I obsessed over that, and I obsessed to great length, beat myself up, and that's just what I do. But all of it was so intense that I started to feel suicidal over it, and I started to have suicidal thoughts and start feeling really depressed and low energy and hopeless, because how could I change all of these horrible things? And you know, it's weird, I never thought about this stuff too much when I was drinking or when I was younger, but get me sober and put me through a very long and dangerous clinical depression, and suddenly I'm very sensitive and I'm very insecure about certain things, and my sense of self and my sense of the world is young, it's being formed. And so I spent the greater part of 2 months during the term just freaking out and then just trying to research and come up with answers that would make me not feel so terrible and make me feel more accepting of my place in this world. Not feeling bad for having privilege, not feeling bad for the color of my skin, but knowing it's important to understand that there's inequality, knowing it's important to know the stuff so that I can affect change. But the class mostly just left me feeling defeated and terrible about myself. And so I was like, I need to make sure I work through this, and so I obsessed in an unhealthy way. To the point where it didn't matter what I was doing, that's what I was thinking about. And so I think that whole topic got so big and so overwhelming. I just felt so bad for so many things going on that I started obsessing over something bigger, like being born in the USA. Now, some of you guys might think this sounds like such whiny bullshit, but it is what it is. So I right, wrong, or indifferent, this is what I've been thinking about. And so then I spent the last 2 months obsessing over America. And so then to make myself not feel so guilty for being born in America as opposed to, say, being born in Cambodia, I would try to research facts of positive things that America has done. And so I have to try to like buffer this insecurity by knowing that everyone here is not terrible. And it just sounds ludicrous. And I really could spend the rest of this video getting into how neurotic I am, but the bottom line is this obsessive thinking has been going on for about 7 months in the most extreme way that I've ever experienced. Like I said, to the point that I wake up, I open my eyes, and I ask the same questions and have to solve the same problems just to feel okay every single day, all throughout the day, millions of times. Mindfulness practices, exercise, diet, they've combated this, but they've not solved it. And I started to get those feelings like, is this going to last forever? Am I literally just going to be obsessing forever over big things that I can't change? Like, why can't I accept that I was born where I was born? I am who I am. I have the family I have, and just be grateful for what I have and try to do something good with my life. Why? My logic tells me what's what. But my fear, my anxiety, whatever this is in my brain, I can't seem to discern any of it. And so I just obsess, and I obsess. And I feel depressed, I feel hopeless, and I feel self-pitying sometimes. I'm like, not a good look, but it's what's happening. So I was talking to him about this and say, listen, I want to be a productive, healthy, respectful, humble member of society. I want to do good things, and I want to believe in my heart I'm a good person and I'm doing the best I can. To not take things for granted, to be appreciative. But I don't want to hate myself, and I don't want to sabotage myself. What do I do? And he's known me for a long time, and the underlying theme of what he thinks is going on is that I don't have the ability to allow myself to relish in personal successes. I don't have the ability to accept good things in my life. I struggle to enjoy my life when things are going good. Now, as opposed to when I was still drinking when I was younger, I would externally sabotage my life. I would drown myself in alcohol and not take myself serious, and therefore not have to really answer up to anything, especially myself. I just existed. I have this father who's tremendously successful, and he's a wonderful person, and he casts a big shadow without meaning to. And I remember thinking growing up that I was never intimidated and or put off by the fact that my dad was so successful. I remember just being proud of him because he's such a good person. But the older I get, the more I realize that that was definitely something I was afraid of, because how would I ever measure up? Even if he never held a ruler, but I was just like, how do I measure up to such a wonderful man? A man involved in philanthropy, an innovator, a doctor, an entrepreneur, a loving father, someone who gives of his time and his money to help other people, who adopts kids from third world countries. He's a really good person. He's doing the best possible job at being a valuable person in his life that he possibly could. And as a kid, I just drank that away, and I didn't have a care in the world. The older I get, the more I try to take on the realities of the life that I'm starting to learn about in the world and my place in it. And especially when I get sober, I realize that I have to live a certain way. I have to do better. I have to try more. I may have lost my life during my depression. I take it very serious that I have mental health problems. But it's a lot of work. Like, it's very strange having such a blessed life but being so miserable. And so what my psychiatrist was saying was like, even though now you are ready to face life as an adult, now you're ready to take responsibility, now I'm ready to put one foot in front of the next and attempt to be a viable member of society, to do something good with my life, with the world. I can't allow myself to enjoy it because I feel guilty. I don't even know what that means or what that is, but it's what's happening. I rarely enjoy much of anything. I can talk my way out of enjoying my favorite TV show. And I'm willing to get vulnerable and tell you just how messy and just how, like, neurotic it gets. For example, I could be watching a show like Game of Thrones, and I could be enjoying it. But then I'll say, oh, but the people that produced this show, maybe the director's from America, maybe he came from a privileged family. His environmental factors led to him, having a chance to be successful. Maybe there's someone just as talented who never will. I feel bad now. Like, I feel bad for even enjoying this. And then I'll just be miserable for the whole episode. I don't know what the fuck that is. And I don't even know what things I'm thinking are truthful and what things I'm thinking are total bullshit. I can't figure the two out in my head. I once said something in a video to the effect of, your broken mind can't fix your damaged brain. Let me repeat that. Your broken mind can't fix your damaged brain. I know I don't know a lot about a lot. I know I have a good heart and I mean well. I know I can't solve the world's problems by myself in my head, and I can't take them all on. It doesn't make sense. But I also know I can't just live oblivious to pain and suffering in the world. But I also know that being miserable and feeling like I have no right to be happy doesn't help me or anyone. And so I'm left with this strange, looping conundrum. And I'm suffering for it. And I suppose it's a fortuitous thing to have to suffer through, even though it's very uncomfortable, and I feel very depressed over it. Sometimes when I process these things, and I even say them out loud, I'm wondering if people watch this are going to say, bro, please, there are real problems going on in the world. I mean, look, I'm sitting inside my relatively new car that I bought myself. I'm going to drive to a job that I have. I'm going to go home tonight to a home that I own. I'm married to a beautiful wife. I have a support system. I have opportunity. But I struggle tremendously with depression and anxiety anyway, and obsessive thinking. I've learned enough to know that where you come from, what you have, it doesn't protect you from mood problems. Many a rich, many a poor people have committed suicide for the exact same torture. And I don't think I'm special. And I think I'm so determined to make sure that I don't think I'm special that I won't allow myself to try to be something special. I certainly hope you guys can forgive me if any of this sounds, for lack of better words, whiny. I have the problems I have the life I have to work through them the best I can. This is all I know. But I am determined to be the strongest possible version of myself. I am determined to overcome mental health battles. I'm determined to be honest and vulnerable with you guys, no matter how it makes me look. And I'm determined to do something good with my life and make a difference, both locally and in the world around me the best I can. Knowing I have a platform here that can reach out to people who I consider my friends all over the world means so much to me. But I have some sort of obsessive personality thing going on, and I've known that. These are really intense, looping thoughts, They crush me. I don't know if my wife will appreciate this, but I usually can't so much as even have sex without thinking about them. Sometimes I do better than other times to not spin over them all the time, but mostly I'm always thinking about them. And it just makes me feel so sad and so down and so discouraged because I feel crazy. When I behave ritualistically in like these researching binges I go on, I'll read every article on everything I'm obsessing on and just try to come up with answers to not hate myself and to feel okay with where I'm at in the world. So I was asking my doc, like, what do we do? This isn't helping. This isn't good for me or anyone. What do I do? He said there's a couple options. One is high-dose SSRI. Can really help with this area in the brain that is associated with obsessive behavior and obsessive thoughts. And make no mistake about it, when you're deeply obsessive for months on end, it can drive you to feel crazy and feel insane. But I'm scared of medications. I've had paradoxical reactions in the past. I'm worried they'll make things worse or they'll set something else off. I'm deeply afraid of it, and he knows that. So we're not sure we're going to go there, but it's an option. High dose SSRIs. Or there's more cognitive behavioral therapy, and he wants to talk to me more about that. So we're going to, next time I see him, and I'm going to see him a little bit more frequently. I will have another upswing. I'm in the midst of a pretty long downish swing, and certainly an insanely high intensity obsessive swing. And these have been the ebbs and flows of my life as someone who has struggled with clinical depression and anxiety. It's sort of what my brain has been left with. I don't remember doing this when I was younger, but it's certainly something that I'm stuck with now. And I've got the opportunity to face it. Deep fear is that someday I won't have it in me anymore, and I'm sure a lot of us have been afraid of this, and maybe one day I'll just decide I can't take it and I'll end it all, because it's so exhausting to deal with mood disorders daily. But I don't go there to the best of my ability, and I try to focus on each day, just doing the best I can today. There's always a chance for a better tomorrow. I'm going to continue doing the things that have been healthy for me. I'm not one of those people that believes just because you still struggle with things, you should discontinue things that are proven to be good for you. And we'll just keep chipping away. For whatever it's worth, I barely scratched the surface of how crazy my brain's been feeling and how deeply I've been obsessing. But I hope to some capacity I've been able to be vocal and honest enough to paint some type of picture. So if you struggle with obsessive thinking, with depression, then I hope you were able to find some solace in knowing there's someone else out there. If you made it this far, I want you to write jingle bells in your comment. That lets me know that you made it to the end of an excruciatingly disorganized video. And then more important than that, comment below on how you're doing, how you're feeling. What are your thoughts on this? Not like, hey, what do I do? Fix me. I have a lot of support. I'm working through this the best I can. But like, how do these things affect you? How do obsessive thoughts affect you? Obsessive behaviors? Do you feel the same sort of torture most days like I do about them? Is it weird knowing that the more you fight it, the worse it gets? And how do you process that? What mindfulness practices have worked for you? And how can your experience benefit others? That would be awesome, and I'd appreciate it. And I appreciate you, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.